All right, we're going to work today some more on lesson 4.3, which is working with slope-intercept form, both being able to write equations in that form and being able to graph a line using the slope-intercept form. All right, one idea that I don't think we did the first day was what if they just tell us what the slope and the y-intercept are and ask us to write and graph the equation? All right, so they say that our job is to write the equation in slope-intercept form for a line that has a slope of -5 and a y-intercept of 7. Well, this is pretty straightforward, right? So we know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, and in this case, they're telling us m is -5 and b is 7. So I'm going to replace m, which is a number multiplied by x, which is my slope, but with -5. I'm going to replace b, which is my y-intercept, with 7. So just plugging those two in, this is now in slope-intercept form. And then graphing it, well, slope is -5, which is the slope of -5 is 5/1, and I need to make the slope negative, right? There's my rise of 5, run of 1. I need to make it negative, and then my y-intercept is going to be at 7. So we always start with the y-intercept. We always start with a point we know is on the line, which is the y-intercept. So I'm going to go up to +7 on the y-axis and put a point. Now, from this point, I'm going to use my slope to move to another point on the line. So I could go up 5 to the left 7. That would give me a excuse me, up 5 to the left 1, which would give me a negative slope, but that takes me off my graph. So what I'm going to do is go down 5, that's negative, and to the right 1, which is positive, and then a negative positive combination is a negative slope. And when I put my point here and draw the line, you can see that this is a negative sloped line because from left to right it goes down. So we don't always have to go up and to the left to make a negative slope. We can go down and to the right and it does the same thing. All right, so there's how to write an equation given slope, y-intercept, and then graph. Let's look at another example. So this line has a slope of 3/5 and a y-intercept of -3. So we start with our equation, y equals mx plus b. We're going to replace the m with the slope, 3/5. We're going to replace b with the y-intercept of -3. So y equals 3/5 x minus 3 would be my slope-intercept form. Easy enough. Plug it in. Now, m is 3/5. We know that already. Y-intercept is -3. We were told that already. So now we just need to make a graph. So my y-intercept -3 means I'm crossing the y-axis at -3. So right here. And then from there, I use the slope to move to another point on the line. So my slope is rise of 3, run of 5. And that takes me to a point that's on the line, and then I can connect it. Now, +3/5, I could have went down 3 to the left 5, which would have been -3, -5, and a negative is a positive. And notice that this is still a positive slope. Okay, so you can look at slope, you can be creative with that in terms of being able to use it either way. All right, so that's that one. All right, we also want to look at what happens when they don't have a y-intercept listed. So how do I graph the equation y equals 3x? Well, first of all, it is written in slope-intercept form because y is isolated, right? And it's equal to 3x. So what we need to understand here is I know the slope. It's the number multiplied by x, so it's 3. So it's 3/1. Rise of 3, run of 1. The y-intercept is not listed. So what that means is this is really plus 0. There is no y-intercept, or I shouldn't say it that way. There is a y-intercept, and it's the number 0. So my y-intercept is going to happen at 0. So 0 along the y-axis is the same as 0 on the axis. The origin it's right here. It's where the two axes intercept. And then this is a point that's on the line, 0. Now I'm going to go from there, rise of 3, run of 1, and there takes me to another point, and I can draw a line through that. Okay. Another example, or I shouldn't say another example of that. Just this is the one that you're going to work with a ton. You're going to be given an equation. This is a line, right? This is a linear equation. Remember our rules. The variables are both written to the first power. We have no variable times a variable. We're not dividing by a variable. We don't have a variable as an exponent. So this is linear. We know that. We need to write it in a form that we can graph it easily. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form, which means solve it for y. So I want to solve for y. So the first thing we do is we want to isolate 2y. That means I want to get rid of this. I want to make this a 0. So add 6x to both sides. Negative 6x plus 6x, those are like terms. When I put them together, it's a 0. Negative 2 plus 6x, those are not like terms. So we just list them both. And I'm going to put the x term first. So this gives me 2y equals 6x minus 2. Right now I want to make the coefficient of y become a 1. So when I have 2 multiplied by y and I want to make the 2 become a 1, I got to divide by 2. Now remember, I'm going to divide the left side by 2, and I'm going to divide each of the terms on the right by 2. So I'm just going to go like this first. Okay. Over here, the 2's cancel and I get y. Over here, the fact that this difference, 6x minus 2, is divided by 2 means I divide each of these by a 2. So it's 6x over 2 minus 2 over 2. And now simplifying those, I'm going to get 3x minus 1. So now it's in slope-intercept form. It's solved for y. The slope is the number multiplied by x. The y-intercept is the number that's added or subtracted on. So I know my slope is 3 over 1, rise of 3, run of 1. Always want to write it as a fraction. And my y-intercept is at negative 1. So over here, where is the y-intercept? Well, it's at negative 1. So my y-axis to negative 1. From there, I want to rise and a run. So I'm going to go rise of 3, run of 1, right? Rise of 3, run of 1. That gives me a point on my line. And draw my line through those 2 points, and I have the graph of it. Now, just to show you how slope works, just to kind of hammer this point home, I could have went down 3, which is negative, and to the left one, which is negative, and a negative is actually a positive, right? So notice this takes me to a point that's right on this line, just like the other ones were, and it's still a positive slope because I went negative, negative, which is positive. Okay. So that's just a look at graphing again. And again, this concept of being able to take any linear equation and write it in slope-intercept form is important. All right. So we're just going to keep working on being able to graph linear equations, being able to find slope and y-intercepts. No matter what kind of form it gives it to us in, we'll be able to convert it to slope-intercept and solve. All right. I'll let you get started.